If Clayton knew that a stripper was going to be there that gets down to his socks, honey.
I think it's cool that you can still teleport with the cape, even if it's not active.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest, this is the weirdest bachelor party I've ever been to.
Awesome! Only days away from their wedding, Clayton and Anali are each celebrating their bachelor and bachelorette parties. And boy, those parties could not have been any different. And Anali really got what she wanted, a party with a stripper, all while Clayton quietly gamed in his Airbnb with his best friend. Those differences, side by side, were funny to watch, and we'll get into more of that later, how Anali really got that party that her heart desired, even though it seemed like she was taking a pretty big risk. El Jefe over here made up a set of rules for Anali's bachelorette party.
No hombres, no strippers.
¿Quién lo está prohibido?
Soy el jefe.
But all of the boss's rules were broken, like majorly broken. I don't think that anyone takes this guy seriously. I mean, look at him sitting on the bed with that shirt and his feet dangling. But something major came up during the bachelorette party. Something that could really put this couple's relationship in danger, even more than that dick-swinging stripper could. And that major thing was Brandy telling Anali that Clayton's mom, better known as Closet Mom, was never going to move out of their apartment. She says that Clayton and his mom would never not live together. And I think that Anali believed her, and she should, because I really think that Brandy is right. From the beginning, I was honestly surprised that this couple even lasted the first few hours into their 90 days. Once Anali stepped off the plane into the US, I was sure that Clayton's living situation would make her turn right back around and go home.
Noto en este apartamento es que hay cosas por todos lados y realmente es tan abrumante. Su perro duerma bien y que su cuy pueda divertirse y correr. Ellos están haciendo las cosas al revés.
But the closet mom and cramped one-bedroom apartment didn't make Anali immediately leave like I thought she would. It did cause issues with privacy and was obviously a huge turnoff for Anali.
Las cabras atacándome es la más acción que tenía desde que llegaste.
But I got the impression that this situation was framed to be temporary. I mean, that makes sense, right? A person would not normally permanently live in a closet, and the state of their apartment was just not functional. I'm guessing that Anali was thinking what all of us are thinking. This just couldn't continue to go on. It's not a normal way to live, and to her, I'm sure she thought it would just have to change.
Pienso que este apartamento es solo para una persona, pero somos 3 con 4 mascotas.
But in the back of her mind, there was still a fear that this was truly permanent. I mean, this woman did seem very comfortable in that very small space, and she was not in any rush to move out of there. But I think that when any tension would start to boil over in that cramped apartment, the couple would just escape by going on a trip. Those breaks she had staying in spacious Airbnbs that were closet mom free temporarily relieved the claustrophobia. But even away, we all noticed that Anali seemed to not really like Clayton. We saw more of a dislike, an ick. I think Anali was riding a fine line between worrying about Clayton being a weirdo living with his mom on the computer with no friends, and deciding if she was truly okay with marrying that. And she didn't have a lot of time to figure that out. And while on one of their trips, when Clayton meets his one and only friend in person for the first time after 13 years of friendship, I think meeting a real friend in person was just enough reassurance that Clayton could change, and Anali got a glimmer of hope that Clayton could actually get out of his comfort zone, and that was just enough for her to keep those 90 days going. I mean, if this guy could travel away from his mom and guinea pigs to meet a real-life friend, then just maybe he had the potential to be the husband that Anali wanted. Or maybe he would just get uncomfortable venturing out and just say a lot of dumb things instead.
I don't drink alcohol, so I gotta get the virgin version because I'm effectively living as a virgin because we haven't been having sex recently.
Yeah, you should have just turned around and gone home when you found the mom in the closet.
Yike.
Obviously, after that, you could see her hope diminish, and that dry streak continued. The producers were even starting to count the days for Clayton. They do end up making up after that fight, but only to have an even worse fight over steak that same evening.
El problema es que 2 años y media. Nada que dices tiene sentido. Voy a hablar con mi papá cuando quiera. Okay, so cuando quiera.
Nunca va a pasar un buen momento. Hazlo o no hazlo.
There's now a huge tell on this show if there's going to be a big blowout fight. It's always when someone is prepping dinner, or using a giant knife, or cutting a steak. Anali had been hiding her 2-year relationship with Clayton from her dad. And I mean, after how much Anali seems to dislike Clayton, I kind of wondered if she really wasn't telling her dad because she still wasn't completely sure she was marrying Clayton yet. That would make sense. This fight does quickly escalate to Anali suggesting they break up. Which, I mean, you hate him. Why don't you just rip the Band-Aid off? I don't get it. But instead of using this as a chance to get out of a relationship that obviously makes her unhappy, Clayton's admission that he was cheated on and is feeling insecure that Anali wants to hide their relationship actually leads to her softening a bit and making a public post on social media about them.
No me alcanzan las palabras para describir lo que siento por este ser tan increíble que llegó a mi vida para hacerme la chica más feliz del mundo.
This certainly seemed like a step forward, and it seemed to be some sort of a turning point for them. Their dry streak was even broken. Why? I don't know. Maybe Anali saw some growth in Clayton and really started to believe that they could have the life she wanted together. Or maybe this spacious Airbnb made her forget that the same problems would still be there when they returned home. Or maybe she really thought that if she made some steps forward, like making a public post her family would see about Clayton, that maybe he would take a few steps forward with their living situation. But as much as they seemed to be closer as a couple, Clayton's mom, on the other hand, was getting fed up with a few things.
She thinks that Anali should be speaking more English, cooking more American food, cooking for me more often.
There is a very simple solution to this problem. Ahem. Move out.
I just see once a week a cooking, something American. Where's their cheeseburgers at?
But we learned early in the season that Clayton's mom does have a hoarding problem. Most of the stuff actually boxed up in the apartment was her stuff. There are a lot more layers to this than her just simply moving out. She also had many months to save up and prove she could get her place on her own, but did not do that. Instead, here she is in all her glory, complaining.
I've never heard Anali ask her soon-to-be husband if he's wants something to eat.
Aw, your little helpless baby boy needs someone to cook for him. All I can think of now is him sitting on that bed in that shirt, dangling his feet over the bed.
Chicken and chicken and chicken. And he likes beef,
Well, you could use the kitchen to cook your own burgers, lady. Or you could even drag a hot plate into the closet. Like, that's her top concern? Not her son growing up, getting married, and taking care of himself? It's the beef! The beef is the top concern. This is up there with Angela squawking about doing what she wants because America.
She often doesn't see that she might be part of the issue, but my mom needs to get her own place.
Yes, that's exactly the right thing for Clayton to say at this point, but he words it like, well, I hope she moves out soon, instead of putting a plan in place to get her out. She probably needs to be pushed out. Maybe leave a small trail of cheeseburgers out to a moving truck, because he's not actively doing anything to get her out. Instead, he's doing things like venting to his mom about Anali, with her in the next room, about not learning English.
Escucho que Clayton y su mamá se están quejando de mí en la cocina.
And this is exactly why a plan needs to be made to cut the cord. In this scene, they are fighting about finishing wedding planning, and although Clayton enlisted his sister Brandy to help with the planning, because apparently he himself can't plan anything or even make his own burgers, Anali is also struggling to help because of the language barrier.
No sé, no es mi culpa. Esto.
That closeness that they built up on their trip is already starting to fade away. There is this obvious pattern of Anali looking more miserable the longer she's back around this small apartment and Clayton's mom. So if Clayton really wants this marriage to work, he is going to have to do something. They can't take a trip every time Anali gets overwhelmed, and they need to at least quickly get a bigger place. This has to be temporary, or it's going to be over. This really reminds me so much of Colt and Larissa. And in Colt's case, Debbie even had her own room in their house, and it was still a problem. I could see this being the same problem for Clayton and Anali, even if they got a bigger place, but at least they would have some of their own space, because they don't even have that now. But again, same pattern, as things start to boil over during this argument, they don't really have to deal with anything because they are leaving for another Airbnb stay. But this time, this trip was for the actual wedding. And remember, this is all happening before Clayton's sister had that talk with Anali about the toxic mom situation. So going into the Bachelorette episode with Clayton dressed like that, I was initially thinking that the riskiest thing that would be happening on this episode was going to be that Anali's party was too wild compared to Clayton's.
Clayton está planeando más una junta de nerds que una despedida de soltero porque no sé qué va a hacer solo con Cameron.
And that would start some huge blowout fight. I mean, Brandy did keep it a secret from Clayton for a reason.
If Clayton knew that a stripper was going to be there that gets down to his socks, honey.
And I like how Anali kept acting like she was kidding about wanting this.
Y tapé sus oídos a Clayton porque pensé que nunca iba a pasar.
Oh, you mean this scene we captured in 4K?
She wants a bachelorette party.
With strippers.
Yeah, you look like you were really kidding about that. Sure.
Wow.
And yet she is the happiest she has looked this whole time. And then there's just Clayton over here playing video games with his best friend and playing in the pool. Massively different experiences.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest, this is the weirdest bachelor party I've ever been to.
But after shotgunning a beer, Anali has that serious conversation with Brandy about toxic closet mom.
Ella vivirá contigo para siempre. Wow.
Yeah.
When Brandy mentioned earlier that she had never seen her brother plan anything, and her overall urge to pretend she had diarrhea to get out of being an officiant for their wedding, we all had the thought that Clayton was probably going to be like Colt and never kick his mom out. But I think that Anali still had that little tiny hope that he would, or I really don't think that she would still be here by now.
I know that Anali thinks that he wants to move out and be on his own, but they're not going to part ways.
I think she had that classic hope that marriage would get him to instantly grow up and cut the cord. But I also think that Anali hadn't had someone that was familiar with her situation be real with her about it until now. Brandy even says that in a year she bets that things will be exactly the same, and I really think she's right. This seems like a very genuine warning from Clayton's sister, a warning to really listen to. And Annali's reaction is, well, realistic.
Ya no puedes hacer nada, solo un trámite de divorcio.
So that's it. That's the line. If Clayton doesn't divorce his mom, he's divorcing Anali. It's Colt and Debbie all over again.
Big Ed the Bee wants to remind you to subscribe to this channel. If you don't, he will fly into your house and body shame you.
It makes no sense to go to the gym and then go to 7-Eleven and eat nachos.
But is Anali going to be the one to get him to cut the cord? Because Larissa could not.
You're already talking about a divorce and you're not even married. You're getting married in 2 days.
When they show this preview for the next episode, I was at first thinking that this argument was over the stripper. I could see how the stripper started an argument, but it escalates, I think, for a different reason. I kept wondering why Anali was getting so upset every single fight, but I now think it's because she is so close to leaving Clayton completely.
Creo que es mejor que me vaya.
And I think that every fight has her teetering over the edge to actually leave. In a way, I can't blame her. Even Clayton's own sister is saying that this is a bad situation that won't change. But Anali needs to decide. Is she willing to potentially live with Clayton's mom forever? Or should she leave before the wedding? I vote for leave. Maybe it's more painful now, but it's less painful later. There is zero promise that Closet Mom is going anywhere, or that they will have a better life after the wedding. If anything, I think Clayton will stop trying as hard after they are married. The trips will stop, they can't go on vacation every single time something is stressful, and they will be stuck in that small apartment until things truly boil over and Anali leaves anyway. It took multiple relationships for Cole to actually break up with his mom. I just don't see Clayton being at that point yet. And I don't think that Anali can put up with the situation for very long. They spent most of their 90 days away. Once they're all stuck together with no escape, this is going to get ugly. Brandy threw her brother under the bus, but she did it to give Anali a gift of knowing what her future probably holds. Let me know what you think about this couple and this situation. Do you disagree? Do you think that Clayton can change? Or do we think this couple will even make it to the altar? We are nearing the end of the season, so we will have to see if Clayton and Anali do really get married in these final episodes. Again, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye!